Hello, welcome to PUTINWORKTV. We've enjoyed watching your journey as a artist manager slash photographer. Had to get that right. And our focus here basically is allowing our guests to share their stories without judgment or opinion, front and center. We want it raw and uncut. We want you to tell them things you wouldn't expect to say today. That's what's going to happen. So, first things first, what's your name? What do you do? And how did it all begin?
So my name is Seykia.
Repeat that from one more time. Your name is what?
My name is Seykia.
Okay.
I am a photographer as well as an artist manager for Seykia. And where did this all begin? I have been doing photography since I was a kid. This has always been something that I love to do. And, you know, one thing about me is like when I take pictures, it's just how my eyes move type thing. So even when I don't have a camera in my hand, I definitely take pictures of whatever I'm seeing. And so that's just kind of continued on. And at Key's Terrible Twos, her birthday, actually this year, I had taken my camera out, actually, because I wasn't really taking pictures for, the community. I was just kind of doing some family type pictures and whatever. And, I took the camera out and I was taking pictures and I was, one of the main photographers there. And everybody loved them. They blew up. And I realized how much love that I was receiving from them and how much like happiness people gained from seeing them and seeing themselves in like candid moments. And something that I like mainly focus on in terms of my photography is, and all of the art that I do is what is Black joy and why can't white America see it? And the reason why I, do photography is because I want to capture the candid moments, the moments that, you wouldn't really notice if you weren't, just not paying attention. You don't really pay attention when you're laughing at small things or whatever. You don't always have a mirror in front of you. And I like to be able to like capture those moments. So that's what I mean when I'm like taking pictures with my eyes. When you look at your friends, they're laughing and it's like they're just having a good time and stuff like that. It's like, you really enjoy those moments, but you don't necessarily capture them. You don't always have a camera on you. So yeah, and then in terms of my artist management, one thing about managing Seykia is definitely fun. I definitely have enjoyed the journey so far, and his music is amazing. He's an amazing engineer and producer. And one thing about being a personal manager is that you have to really look into somebody's life and see, what can I help you with? What can I help you organize? And what opportunities can I gain and help you succeed in? And so one thing about me is I've been all over the community the past like 6 years or so. And I've been able to gain different opportunities and see different people, and, basically interact with people all the time. And a lot of those opportunities are not the same that Seykia has had. And one thing about me is I'm gonna shine light on a great artist, even if it's a friend. Doesn't necessarily have to be someone I'm managing, but he's very intelligent and a great person. And his music's dope overall. So
I think at this rate, you're going to end up answering all the questions I have prepared.
Oh, my fault.
No, it ain't your fault. I think you just gave them a great introduction into who you are. My first question was going to be, where are you from?
So in terms of just literal living and my life.
Location-wise.
I'm from Roxbury.
Okay. So you're from the 617.
Yes, sir.
Most definitely born and bred.
Of course.
What was it like growing up in Roxbury for you? What were the challenges?
Growing up in Roxbury, it's a mixture of just seeing a lot of love as well as, losing a lot of people. From a young age, I've just seen a lot of my friends, like, growing up with them and, like, going to after-school programs or whatever with them, just losing friends every single week from getting shot. And, like, I live in, like, kind of like a hotspot type of area, so people, like, probably, like, last week, somebody got shot the street over from me. There was, like a memorabilia, you feel me, like, on the corner of my street. And that's kind of just something that's never been, hidden or anything like that to me. It's something that I've gotten used to, unfortunately. But it's also been a lot of love unfortunately, when it comes to losing people, it brings a lot of it brings a lot of community. Unfortunately, it takes loss sometimes to understand what you already have, and that's what it is sometimes. And then also like Roxbury, we got a lot of tough people out here, and we got I grew up looking after, or not looking after, but like looking up to Nate Nix, because he's always been like my boss at Teen Empowerment. It's a program that I was in for mad long, and I'm still in. Um, and having a role model like that it's really dope. And he's somebody, him and then Milkshaw, very much two strong black men from the community that like come to mind when I'm thinking of, okay, like coming up and like what's it called, just like coming up and learning how to grow and things like that, being able to see two like really dope people come out of the city like that, and still in the city and caring for it. So yeah, growing up in Roxbury, definitely a lot of love, but also a lot of loss.
Mm, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. And so, instead of asking you what's your discography like, if I were to open up a photo album of yours, what can I expect to see? What type of pictures are we talking about?
The only way I could describe my photo album is love.
Hold on, why the quotation marks?
Cause I feel like my art is a lot more than an album.
Okay, what is the term you would like to use?
Mm,
You don't even know.
I don't even know.
So we're gonna go with photo album for
Yeah.
now.
So if you open my photo album, one like the main word to use to describe it is love. Everything that I shoot is has a lot of love, a huge piece of love for me, and I put intention to every shot that I take. So there's that, and then you see community. The number one picture I think that like anybody who opens my photo album would see is going back to Key's party is the group shot. At the end, she had everybody do a group shot, and I just remember like running because she had like a bed stage up there and whatever. And like I ran, jumped on the bed, I'm taking these pictures, and they came out so like lovely and wholesome, and it really shows the love and community that we have.
So, what is your biggest motivator? And on top of that, what's your process of creating? What's the criteria for you even to want to capture a moment?
My biggest motivation is kind of jumping back to the question, what is Black joy and why can't white America see it? And the reason why I say this is for us to have so much love and us to have so much community and so many superstars and everything like that, in the space that we're in, um, it's more than what people can showcase, oftentimes, and I'm just the one that ends up showcasing it or a piece of it, and you know I want to be able to show people that aren't necessarily from Boston that this is what Boston is. This is the real Boston. I hear all the time when like in interviews or whatever from other like basketball teams and stuff like that, when they come to Boston play against the Celtics, they're like, Boston's mad racist and like all this extra stuff, and I'm like, you're looking at the wrong Boston. Unfortunately, that's the Boston that they interact with, but it's that's the rep that we get. And that's not all what Boston is. And so the Black joy and the Black community and the love that we have here, like, is so important to be able to show that. Um,
I think also because the stadium is full of
like
work.
it was just an example. You feel me?
You put it the
But,
PC way. I got you.
But so it's like.
And so, what's your criteria for capturing a moment?
My criteria.
Like your creative process.
Normally, like if I'm walking into, so like my go-to times and taking pictures is normally when I'm around, my people, or like, when we have events, and things like that, and normally grab that camera and I'm like, okay, bet, come into the space, do your hellos and everything like that, and I'm just looking around. I'm like, okay, this is what the vibe is and whatever, and then I just kind of like look at where people aren't paying attention to what's around them.
You want to catch them off
I
guard.
want to catch them off guard. That's the point of being candid.
Why is the off guard photos better and more memorable than the ones that you're expecting?
Because this is the like perfect thing that I think about when people look at the pictures that I take of them and they're off guard. They're like, when did you take that? And I'm like, you weren't even noticing. It was like, that's just in the moment. The point of being out here and doing what we do and having that love is being in the moment. And I'm just the behind the scenes.
And so what can you say about people's reaction, no matter if it's good or bad? Do they always want the picture? Have you ever taken a picture so phenomenal of another person and somehow, some way you said no, or they didn't ask for the photo? Has that ever happened to you?
I've said no to sending pictures, but that hasn't happened where people wouldn't want them. And like the day that comes, it's gonna shock me a little bit, but it definitely hasn't happened yet. But in terms of me not sending pictures, I normally, like, if I don't want to send pictures, it's because there's a lot of things that I would like to, enhance about the pictures, normal editing and like Lightroom type thing. But in terms of just in general, like, sometimes there's pictures I want to keep sacred until it's ready to be released. So, yeah.
Okay. And what did you learn from all that, the candidness of a moment, of an experience, of a room, of people in general? That was your criteria. So then what'd you learn from doing that? What type of photographer are you? What are you looking for? Good question, huh?
Yeah, you got me with that one. I'm quick with the answers, but I'm like, all right. What type of photographer am I?
And I put that in that way, but what I'm really asking you, if you unmask it, is would you learn about yourself?
Yeah.
After knowing that that's what you're looking for in your photography.
One thing that I've learned about myself is I'm always going to be there. And the way that I say that is, everybody got that friend that, will always pick up the phone or is always right there and things like that. And, I'm like that type of friend. But not even just that, like, I've been that type of person in the community. I've done activism work. And, I'm there. Even though you might not have seen me in pictures, it's because I'm behind the camera taking them. And so the type of photographer I have grown to be is one that you can rely on to be able to just capture whatever's in the room, and moments that you wouldn't expect to be captured.
What are some things you wish you would have known before you started? Like, if you could pick 3 things, you're like, damn, if somebody just put me on game, it would have solved all my problems.
Okay, one, this is something that I hate so much that I'm realizing. When you are behind the camera, you don't get pictures taken of you, and you forget to take pictures of yourself. So nobody could have prepared me for that, because, I be popping out with the fits too. You feel me?
And you feel left out almost.
I feel a little left out, no cap. But it also, in the same light, it's like, yin and yang type thing, good and the bad and good, not necessarily bad, but, I get to be the one that people say, oh yeah, she took those pictures, and also, like, I might not be in them or I might not have them captured of me, but I take pride in what I do. So that's one. 2, I wish I found out about Lightroom sooner.
What's that? Explain that.
Lightroom is, okay, like Adobe Suite. We're talking about Photoshop, but Lightroom isn't Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop. Photoshop is when people can, like, change a background completely or, like, erase a blemish on your face. I don't do that because of the point that this is candid. The point of what I do is to enhance the picture. I don't plan to sit here and, like, try to change anything about it, or about the person in it. And so I definitely wish I learned about Lightroom sooner, because it's like sometimes you just need the brightness a little bit up. Sometimes you need the picture sharpened. So there's that. And then last thing is, I wish I found my photography community sooner. Photography and videography.
Did you even know there was one that existed?
No, no. Like when I first started this, like I understood there were people that took pictures, but like oftentimes it's like, um, we don't really. I guess like I talk to people. Obviously we're here, but like a lot of the other photographers and like videographers that I've met, it's like you have to talk to them, and that's like it's like okay, all right, I'm more extroverted than most of them, and it's like I have to put the effort in to get out there. But you know, one photographer and videographer that comes to mind is Christina. Um, she's dope, Christina Edwards. And
Shout out Christina.
Shout out Christina Edwards. No cap. She is so dope. She introduced me to Lightroom actually. Like she'll sit there for hours with me, and then she'll be like, okay, this is how this should go, and like, okay, no, this is how you use the color grader, and this, that, and third. And I'm like, okay, all right. Like it's annoying, but it's also like she's teaching me stuff that nobody has taken the time to. So that's like the third thing. Definitely like finding that community. But yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about being somebody who can take a picture of somebody and they love it? Does it make you feel good?
The smile couldn't tell.
Yeah, it was a rush of dopamine that just floods your brain.
It's definitely like
I did that.
Yeah, it's like I did that. Like before I started getting help from Christina, this is like another thing to it too, is like people would be like you know, I would DM back and forth with people. I like a lot of people that I've interacted with that know me in person. I don't always remember them, and I feel really bad. That's another thing too, where it's like, dang, like I don't really remember you. I know your face. I don't remember your name, because I will just go around taking pictures of people without actually like being like, let me see your IG or whatever. I don't hound them. If you see them, you see them. But you know, when it does come down to like when people were DMing me back and forth when I was first doing like pictures for the community this year, it was just like, oh, I love these, and like you don't read tone over text, like it's just a thing. But once Christine and I started to have conversations and she started to, you know, help me out, she was like, your eye is amazing. And
so it was
like,
specific.
Yes, because there's a difference between somebody saying, oh, these are great pictures, thanks, and somebody being like, you have something specific that other people don't have that is so amazing. You know, where it's like somebody's like, you're doing amazing at your job. You got that. Like nobody can sit here and take away that from you. And that's why I'm like, you know, I'd be taking pictures with my eyes, because I'm like, I'd be so nonchalant about it. I'm kind of just like, oh, I just, you know, took some pictures. That's about it. So that's definitely that moment when people are actually like specific about what they love about the picture or whatever you may have it. That moment is great. And then also when people are talking to me in person, I don't like that text and stuff. It's just not for me, because then it's like it's not that it feels insincere, but you know,
you can't connect.
You can't connect. Yeah, like I would rather like want to know your name and everything like that, rather than just being like, oh, okay, cool, like you mess with my stuff, great. Moving on, I gotta do more stuff. So yeah.
And you don't want to take an attitude of being dismissive of people, because then you're just looking for validation without exchanging value.
And like that's the thing, that's why I like to have those in-person conversations too, because I'm also the type of person to like open something and be like, all right, bet I'm gonna get back to it, and then I don't get back to it. I want to have an actual conversation, or maybe not a full conversation, but something that's like, oh, bet, like, you know, thank you, I really appreciate it, which I do all the time. I do my best to always reply to people, but not even just that. Like it's like, oh, like what do you do? Like, do you want, like, what kind of pictures do you like? And like, let's have a conversation about this, because I want to connect with people more than just like a passing by type of thing.
I want to ask you a question you've never been asked before. And so, do you think this question is going to be good?
I don't know. The questions that you've asked, I haven't been asked before, so.
Okay, so this one's coming. This one's coming. Have you ever had a photograph either you took or somebody else took that ended up in your hands, in your possession, whether digitally or a cover photo, a tangible photo? Has it ever brought you to tears, and why?
A picture that somebody has taken of me is look at me, I'm like already. But one, I'll say a picture that somebody has taken of me, and then a picture that I've taken. So a picture that somebody has taken of me is shout out Johnny Wave, shout out Macedo, you know I got it on me, but Johnny had taken a picture of me at Key's party, and the reason why I mentioned Key's party so much is because that's where this all started for me. That's how I got to this point, and that's how we're having a conversation. So Johnny had taken a picture of me, and I think that's the only picture that I have that somebody else has taken of me, actually like in action. It's this picture of like me, and I have like we're taking a picture of each other basically because he has like this film camera that he uses. So I'm sitting here with the picture, and I'm just mad confident, and I'm happy and everything. It's like a great moment. I love the picture. And it just shows me like everybody has that like, oh, I started from the bottom or whatever. That picture showed me like somebody actually like saw what I was doing. Somebody actually saw me.
They recognized your effort.
They recognized the effort, yeah. And as a photographer, as somebody who is behind the scenes, it's not always recognized. Like I was just talking about people who do recognize it, but it's like when somebody captures the recognition, not like, oh, I'm the one who captured it and now you're recognizing it. It's more of like, oh shoot, and Queen Ali does this too for me. But having that actual picture where it's like, okay, like this is showing you like I'm doing what I'm doing and this is my thing. So sometimes if I think about it a little bit harder, it's like, all right, like that's a lot for me to take in.
You gotta see it to believe it. So I think bruh did exactly just that.
Exactly. Without even realizing it.
And that means a lot to you now. So what's the hardest part about being a manager or a photographer? Because you can choose what burden is more heavy.
I think hard and challenging are two different words.
Okay, what's more difficult?
What
is the most difficult part of being manager slash photographer?
The most difficult part is, definitely balancing the two. Because managing is something that I am a manager every single day. I'm also a photographer every single day, but in general, I call myself a creative rather than like an artist or like sticking to one. But obviously, I'm both. If we're putting that into like a box or whatever, but getting up and texting somebody and being like, hey, what are you doing today? Like, what's the grind? What are we on today? And holding somebody else accountable, also holding myself accountable for being a photographer. Because Seykia is not a photographer. He's not going to understand, exactly what I'm doing. He understands why I'm doing it, but not what I'm doing. And not only that, there's some days where, I have to choose being a manager more than being a photographer. There are days or like events where people have asked me like, yo, where's your camera at? And I'm like, dang, let me get a break. Let me get a second. Because it's like, I love taking pictures. This is something I love to do. I love taking pictures. At the same time, though,
it's not everything. It's not everything.
Like random occasions, like I've been asked, like, "Yo, you got SD cards?" I'm like, hold on.
Whole time you just trying to drink.
I'm like, yo, can I just get a little jam?
Back up,
like,
nigga.
Bro, like, come on, like.
You telling me right now somebody seen you in the party was like, yo, you got SD cards? Why you trying to
come on, bro. Not even. Shout out to Clark D. We love Clark. I've told you this story, bro. But at What a Life, right? I come in and I'm mad happy. My fit is flea. I'm like, I really hope somebody catches me in some pictures tonight. It's gonna be great event. I didn't bring my camera because one, I was going with my friend and she was new to the scene, and I'm not going to do what I normally do because I'll just go wherever. I don't really pay attention. I don't go to events with people if I'm taking pictures. And so I went with her because I'm like, here's your introduction, like to our crowd and whatever. Like, this is great. I walk in and I'm like, Clark, what's up? Like, this is great. Like, whatever. And he's like, this is, But yeah, that's the first thing he said to me because gives me a hug, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I missed you. This is so great. I'm mad hyped to be here. He's like, yo, where's your camera? And I'm like,
I don't
yo,
got it.
I don't got it. It's not on me, bro. I'm taking a break. He's like, you're gonna be the phone photographer then. I was like, oh, Clark. And granted, like,
But you took it.
I still did it.
You didn't say no.
I didn't say no because I love doing it and I could still do it from the side.
No. That's not the real reason. You didn't want to let anybody down because the whole night you actually wanted to just chill.
Yeah.
So maybe what you need to do is the boundaries got to be strong because manager and photographer, sometimes you just need just the person about to have some fun.
Yeah.
So that leads me to the next question. In the next 5 years, what do you become?
Next 5 years, I'll be 25 5 years from now. My hope is to become an independent artist, including an artist manager. And I want the option of doing shit on the side. So
you don't want to be forced to do it.
I don't want to be forced to do it. So what that means is, so right now I'm associate program coordinator at Teen Empowerment. So I help the young people with their artistry and things like that too. It's kind of like being a manager in a way, still, but to.
So you're managing all day, every day.
Basically, yeah. So with that being said, it's like, I want the option of doing that because, unfortunately, like, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. We're still in, like, I'm still living in a form of poverty. And so that's something that I also have to do. It's something I love, but it's something that also brings in the income that I need. And I'm also a server. So, like, that on top of it, too, it's like, done took me out, obviously, you feel me? So, like, those are two things I would rather have the option of doing. Because for 2 months, from, like, August and September, I didn't work. I didn't have a job. Like a 9 to 5 type of situation, and those are very freeing. I loved not having a job because it was like, dang, okay, I could wake up whenever. This is great. You
experience freedom.
I've experienced that freedom because one thing about me, I'm a workaholic. That's another thing. I want the option of being able to work so that I'm able to take on things and be like, bet, like, I'm gonna go to work today and I'm gonna do this, or like being like, I don't have to do that, or creating my own, being a curator and creator and creating something new to be able to be like, y'all can all come to work if you want. Like, these are all the people and like all the youth in the community. I want y'all to be able to come and work and not necessarily work for me, but work for you, work for yourself, and learning how to do that. So in 5 years, like, that's the goal. I'm not the type of person that's like, in 5 years I hope to be married and have kids and live in a house and all this extra stuff. Like, it's like, that's not me. I'm more
those are things you don't want.
Those are things I don't want. It's not what I want. Ideally, I would like to have a car and apartment. Like, those are like the ideal things, but those generic things and like the things that society like wants us to have, I don't really care for that. For real.
You don't think the gift of motherhood though is priceless? Because guess what? Mothers usher in new generations. So if they raise good men, strong men, they take care of all the women down the line.
This is true.
And they raise strong fathers who father more children.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there has to be a balance, you know?
I did, I was on Back for the Community podcast during the... Like,
shout out them.
Shout out Back for the Community podcast. We love them. And I was on an episode with my good friend Sophia. Shout out Sophia. And we were talking about Roe v. Wade. This is when it was at its height. This was like June, I want to say. We had the conversation and we were talking about abortions and things like that. And when I was 16, I had an abortion. And that's not something that weighs heavy on my heart now, but in terms of thinking about, having another child or like, going through whatever process that looks like, it's a lot because of, bringing a Black baby into this world. And that's something that's like hard to talk about, like, not in the way that's like, because everybody feels different about it. Every woman feels different about it. Every Black woman feels different about it. But for me, like, I don't necessarily see myself bringing a child into this world because of that, because of the traumas that I've had, and things like that. However, I'm that great auntie that will sit here and forever. Like I helped raise my nephew growing up. He'll be 10 in a few weeks, and I've been helping raising him since he was 10 months, and that was when I was 10 years old. He's a black baby in this world, and I've had a hand in helping raising him, and whoever my friends are that have children and whatever you may have it, I'll be there to have a hand in that. I would like my work to show that legacy. My work is my legacy, and not even just that. The young people I work with, whatever way I leave a mark on them, leave a touch with them, that's a part of my legacy too. I don't feel like bearing a child, or like adopting or whatever is like the first thing that would dictate my legacy being kept and the generations to continue.
I think that was a very courageous answer, honorable answer, and vulnerable answer. So thanks for giving Puttinwork TV some amazing content.
Of course.
And to move on from you in 5 years to New England, right? What do you think we can do in 5 years?
What we can do?
And what, as in, let me rephrase, where can we be in 5 years? Respect on our name, like Birdman said?
Yeah.
Or still the same old 617?
Nah. Like, this is not gonna be the same 617. We're young. Like, you and I, we're young. Sonya and I are the same age. We're both 20. We're both young. And we're putting our foot in the ground now. I'm speaking of legacies, and I'm speaking of legacies that I've been creating since I was 14, and been putting out here. So in terms of, like, New England and 617, like, put in work. We're putting in work right now. You feel me? Like, this is something that, like, is going to last for generations. The only reason why things fumble or whatever is because the consistency lacks. And what we're doing here, what putting work is doing right now, obviously, is keeping up with that consistency. And same with Thrill, and same with the artists that we have out here now. We're keeping up with consistency. If we're not consistent, we're not going to be able to move nowhere in 5 years. We're not going to be able to be in a different place in 5 years. So with that being said, like, we're moving up. I couldn't tell you exactly how. I can't tell you exactly where we'll be, but New England and music scene in New England, and big entities like Put In Work and Thrill and Sound Lab and etc. Like, we're getting out there. This is not something light. And this is not going to be on some, like, Cousin Stiz and, Bia and all these other artists that, like, came out of Boston or whatever. In my opinion, and, not everybody might not feel the same, but in my opinion, they don't show where they came from, and that's fine. That's their thing. But the artists that are coming out of Boston and coming out of the 617 and etc., like, that are coming out of Mass in New England, they know what's up. If you're genuine and you know where you're at, you're gonna rep where you're from, where you're coming from, and it doesn't need to be your whole personality or your whole ordeal, but you're gonna rep where you're coming from. And so that's one thing. Like, we're gonna be coming up, and we're gonna be able to be proud of where we're coming from. So yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. I think that was, I was going to ask you to give us a put in work moment. And a put in work moment is a moment where you felt as though you overcame a big challenge. You did a lot of work in one day. You had an amazing reaction from other people due to the quality and the effort in your work. But I think that was your put in work moment.
Man, my life is a put in work moment. No
that's
doubt.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard yo, listen. Y'all heard it here first. So thank you for coming to Put In Work Studios, for putting in work, for sharing your time and sharing your story with the people. If there's any last words you want to say, talk to them now. You know what I mean? If there's any family, projects, pictures coming out. Somebody waiting on some pictures right now, maybe.
Yo.
You know.
Shout out Sonya, of course. Sonya Milo. You need a producer. You need songs out. We're coming out with a new project December 16th. This might be out after that, so that's cool. But stream all of that, and don't say you can't unless you've tried everything in your power to say you can, and live by that.
Thank you, Seykia.